Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me already, then my name is Sarah and I'm a flower farmer in East Yorkshire in the UK. And last week I posted a video about the supplies that we're going to need for starting cut flowers in 2023, and we're still kind of a little bit early for starting seeds, but I will be starting seed sowing in full swing from next week, where we have the adequate amount of daylight for seedling growth. So I'm here just sitting in my back flower field where I mainly grow annuals. So the seeds that I'm going to be starting next week are mainly going to be annuals, and today I just want to get my plan in place, my seed sowing plan, so that next week I have a list of things that I need to sow and I'm doing it quite efficiently and I can just tick them off the list, and I'm not kind of just winging it and putting in whatever seeds I've got hold of. So there's a couple of important things that you need to know before you start planning your seed sowing schedule, and that is the number of plants you're going to need, and to work that out you need to know the plant spacing of the plants that you want to plant. So here in the field, as you can see behind me, I'm mainly using 9 and 12 inch spacing for my plants, and what I've done is I've counted how many holes there is per metre, and all of my beds are marked out in, you can't really tell from here, but on my planning schedule my beds are 10 metres long, so I'll have 10 metre sections of each variety, and I know that I can get 180 plants in a 10 metre section of 9 inch spacing and 110 plants in, if they are 12 inch spaced, in a 10 metre long bed. So once I know that information, I know that I need say 190 snapdragons, so that I've got a full bed of snapdragons. So when working out my seed sowing schedule, all I use is a notepad and pen. I sometimes refer to a Excel spreadsheet, but I find that this is really useful because I can bring it out into the field with me and I can tick it off, and I don't really need much more information than that. So this is my field plan from 2022, and it's quite kind of muddy and stuff because I've had it out in the field, but this is my list of, so that was my field plan and that was my list of varieties that I needed to sow. So I had snapdragons 180, and then I put that I was going to be soil blocking them, and then there's a tick next to that because I sowed those, and then also on the next page I have week commencing the 14th of Feb, hardy annuals, and the seeds that I sowed in that week, and then some more seeds that I sowed, some perennials that I sowed, and then just lists goes on like that, kind of like a diary, but I find that that helps me to keep good records of what's been going on in the fields. And then more recently I drew up a field plan. Where is it? And I haven't actually got it here, but I did actually draw an image of my flower field and how it looks at the moment. So I've got some foxgloves and some biennials in one of the beds, and I also have some hardy annuals that I planted out in autumn that are in the field. So I put those down on the plan because I don't need early spring plants for those, so I won't be planting hardy annuals into those. So I don't necessarily need to take those into account now, but I need to make sure that I've got a succession to go in after those early summer hardy annual. So I've got a list here of my bed numbers. So I've got 24 beds in that field there, and each are 10 metres long. So my field is comprised of 8 30-metre long beds, and I split those beds into 3, so they're handled in 10-metre sections. So I've listed those, that comes to 24 beds overall. I've listed those here, and then I've put what is planted in each one here, and I have also got some cover crops in some of them, but obviously they're going to be killed off by springtime. So I've got a number of beds that I need to sow seeds for, so I'm going to work out those today and I'm going to show you how I do it so we can start our seeds efficiently this spring. So I have already kind of gone through this already because I had to do it for when I ordered my seeds, so I was making sure that I ordered the right number of seeds for everything, but I'm just going to go and put it down on paper now so that I've got a paper version here in the greenhouse. So I've got all of my seeds laid out in front of me here, and I've just kind of had a quick count up of how many seeds I have of each one, and how many beds of each variety I want. So I've got 17, or I think there's 18 actually, varieties here that I want to have beds of. So I've got larkspur, rudbeckia, helichrysum, snapdragons, cosmos, celosia, phlox, zinnias, poppies, statice, gomphrena, which I haven't grown before, by the way. I'm excited to try that. Grasses, ami, flax, scabiosa, nigella, and corncockle. Now there's some of those varieties that I want 2 beds of, and I have put down rudbeckia, helichrysum, celosia, and that's it, I think. For that's the varieties that I want 2 beds of. And there are a few things that I don't want a full bed of. For example, flax, scabious, nigella, and corncockle. So overall that comes to over the amount of beds that I've actually got here in my field that I've got listed here. But I don't know if you'll remember, if you watched my videos from last year, I do have an extra growing area around the back of the polytunnel that hasn't been utilised before. Last year we put a big thick layer of cow muck over it, covered it over with a tarpaulin, and took it off in autumn time, and it was just like gorgeous worm castings underneath. So I sowed a cover crop into that. It didn't really take very well, but I can get that prepped for spring to plant into. So in that bed there I have 4 8-metre long beds that are 1.5 metres wide. So as I said to you before, my beds in this field here are 10 metres long. So, and I know that 9-inch spacing I can get 180 plants per 10-metre bed, and with 12-inch spacing I can get 110 plants per 10-metre bed. So I've just converted that because these beds are 8 metres long, not 10 metres. So with 9-inch spacing, I divided that by 10 so I could find out how many 9-inch spacing plants I could get per metre, and then I just times that by 8 for the 8-metre long beds. So I can get 144 plants in with 9-inch spacing and 88 plants in with 12-inch spacing. So that gives me 4 more beds to play with there, and potentially kind of 400 or 500 more plants added onto what I've got growing here. So the next thing that I want to do is write down whether I want my plants to be 9-inch or 12-inch spacing. So usually for things like larkspur, cosmos, zinnias, ami, I probably want 12-inch spacing. Maybe rudbeckia, I maybe want 12-inch spacing, but for everything else it's mainly 9-inch spacing. So things like helichrysum, snapdragons, celosia, phlox, poppies, statice, gomphrena. I don't really know much about gomphrena, but I'm assuming 9-inch spacing will be fine about that. Grasses, 9-inch spacing, flax, scabious, nigella, and corncockle, all 9-inch spacing as well. So I can now work out how many plants I'm going to need for each bed. And usually what I do is I write down on here, so these are the bed numbers, and I'll write, for example, in bed number 1 I'm going to have rudbeckia, but when it comes around to planting time, rudbeckia isn't necessarily going to be in bed number 1. It's just whatever's ready at the time to be planted out. I kind of choose which bed at the time, so it's not a structured thing that I'm going to 100% stick to. I'm just doing this so that I know how many seeds to sow when it starts next week. Okay, so you'll have to bear with me here because this is how I do it, and it might not be understandable to everybody, but I certainly understand what's going on here. So this is basically how I lay my field out every year. So here is a list of the varieties that I want to grow, and I've written next to it the plant spacing that I'm going to need and how many plants I'm going to need per bed. So then going down the list, I want 2 beds of rudbeckia, 9-inch spacing, so I need 360 plants. And then here is the bed numbers, so how many beds I have in my field just here. And then I have also my small field, or the small growing area behind the tunnel that I mentioned earlier. So I have assigned a plant to each bed, and I've just put here, I've got ranunculus in this bed. So you can see I've got the biro here, which is something that's already planted up in the beds, and then the dark marker is the what I've just put in now that is going to go in spring. But the zinnias are going to go in after the ranunculus there, so that's why I've done that. And then also I've assigned some extra things to these 4 beds here, and then I've written the number of plants needed for those. So what I just need to do is with the celosia, I just need to cancel that off because I've done that as 2 10-metre beds, but actually I'm going to have 18 metres worth of beds, so it's going to be a little less than that 360 number there. So when it comes to sowing, I'll maybe rewrite this out so it's a little bit neater for me to look at, but what I'll do is I'll just go along and I'll sow my larkspur, and then I'll just tick that off so I know that I've sown it. And usually what I'll do is sow maybe 20% extra just to make sure that I've got plenty for the season ahead. The other thing obviously is the whole reason why I'm doing this is because I want to know what I'm going to sow next week. So there are varieties here that I'm not going to sow right now. I'm going to sow them maybe in March. So I'll just write a list. I'll write whatever day I'm going to be sowing next week, February the whatever, and then I'll write a list of things that I want to sow and how many I need to sow. So when it comes to maybe Thursday next week, I'm going to write Thursday, February, and then I'll just write a list of bullet points of the seeds that need sowing next week, and then I can just come in here, tick that off, simple as. So I hope that makes sense. I tried to make it sound as simplistic as possible. Let me know if this is a similar way to how you are organising your seeds. Do you have Excel spreadsheets, or are you just doing it on a piece of paper? I found this is just so much easier, and I've got all my notebooks from years previous so I can check on how things have changed over the years. So I hope you found this video useful in some way. I just wanted to show you how I'm doing it. If you want to know any more information about growing Rudbeckia, larkspur, snapdragons, phlox or foxgloves, I have put on my website 5 free cheat sheets that show you or that tell you everything you need to know about growing those 5 varieties, because they are my favourite cut flowers. So if you want to have a look at those, I'll put the link down in the description. And I'm also going to be releasing my new seed sowing for cut flower growers online workshop. I'm not sure whether it will be released before or after this video comes out, but I'll put a link down in the description and you can have a look on the website to see whether it is out yet or not. So I'm really excited for some of you to join me on that course, and thank you so much again for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.